everyone. I'm Julianna LeMieux, Deputy Editor-in-Chief at Gen, and we're coming to you today from Chicago, from the AACR meeting. I'm joined by my colleague, Damian Doherty, the Editor-in-Chief of Inside Precision Medicine, who's here from the UK. Damian, welcome to the States and welcome to Chicago.
Great to be here, Juliana. It's been a while since I've been in Chicago. Actually, it's probably been about 10 years, so it's great to be back. Normally when I'm here, it's 3 foot of snow and it's bleak and it's cold and it's windy. So to see it in the springtime is just wonderful.
Well, I wouldn't know anything about that. This is my first time to Chicago, so I just think the weather's perfect all the time here, and I'm not going to think anything else right now.
That's great. Yeah, do that. Absolutely.
So this is the second day that we're here at the meeting. And yesterday morning we started with the open plenary session, which for me is always such a highlight of the AACR meeting. It, not only brings together amazing scientists, and I always learn a ton in that plenary session, but also I just want to say that I really appreciate there's this enormous energy and enthusiasm, and just the vibe is so great in that room of all these different people coming together. So many attendees come to the plenary session with just everyone with a singular focus of improving cancer research, bringing more, options to patients. And that was absolutely present yesterday. I know you were in the plenaries. What did you think?
Yeah, without a doubt, I'd echo that. It's always quite a profound moment when you see all these clinicians and researchers and people dedicating their life to that end goal, as you say, for putting the patient front and center. And what a better way to kick off with some very, very esteemed thinkers in the field.
Yeah.
Kevin Shokat, Catherine Wu, Johanna Joyce, Paul Michel's, all people at the top of their game, giving us some very, very powerful perspective. And as you say, I agree. I mean, there's stuff I learned in there, things I just didn't know. And so I was very grateful actually to witness that. Yeah.
Yeah. And another moment that happened in the plenary was, so they also, before the science, they give out a lot of awards for researchers and people, just distinguished people in the field that should be honored for the work that they've done to move cancer research forward. And one in particular yesterday was as a public service award given to Senator Tammy Baldwin. And her acceptance speech of the award, came virtually. She wasn't here in person, but it was just such a powerful statement of just showing unbridled support for the necessity for funding of biomedical research to continue in the time that we're in right now. And so it was really such a moving moment. And then after that, they had these placards on the street. Placards on the seats, saying that cancer research saves lives. And they asked everybody to stand up and hold up their cards, just to show this community-driven show of support. And it was really an amazing moment in that room. To be a part of. And that's something that I would say has been a theme all day yesterday, because we both were at a panel that touched on the same, lack of funding topic.
Yeah, which is, we're in a perilous state. And I'm really pleased AACR put that session on yesterday. I mean, it's a really important discussion. And I think, the whole session started with talking about how divided we are. We live in a very divided world. We talked about how we're divided about maybe what we watch on TV, brands we like.
What we eat, eating out, takeout, is
caffeine, coffee.
Divided in political parties.
But one resounding thing that we're all in agreement on is the fact that all Americans, and probably everybody around the world, but particularly if we look at the US-centric policy at the moment, they want their government to spend money.
Yes, that was an amazing data. That was amazing data that they
They're
showed.
willing to pay more taxes. So that is irrefutable. We all agree on that. And of course, we're in this dreadful state at the moment where massive cuts to the NIH. They reckon probably a reduction of 43% for next year could translate to billions of dollars. And ultimately, what are the implications? Well, the implications are dire for the patients. Clinical trials are stopping, fellowships, grants. The impact that will have on industry, academic partnerships, but ultimately the impact it will have on patients wanting to get on clinical trials that have now been stalled. We're in a very, very dire situation. So the sentiment was palpable yesterday in that session.
And I also really liked in that session how it was a lot of that conversation, but then there were also everybody on the panel gave some ideas of some solutions. And, you know, a lot of that solution was in science communication, that scientists and the scientific community needs to be communicating what we're doing better and what it means. And I think, and so I was really interested to hear that part of the conversation as well, since that's what we spend all of our days doing. So, so yeah, they've really, really opened those conversations at the meeting. They've been a big part so far the first day, and I'm sure going forward they will as well.
Sure.
Another thing I wanted to transition a little bit, because, you know, the expo floor is just huge. And I wanted to say, you know, I'm going to focus today a lot on some of the industry that's, you know, helping drive cancer research forward and some of the technologies. And I got a chance yesterday to sit down with the team from VizGen, the spatial technology company, which has been around a long time. But they've had a ton of changes over the last, say, 6 months. They merged with UltraView in the fall, and then in February announced that their litigation was essentially over because of a settlement that that occurred. And so now here at the meeting, they're releasing some new chemistry, and also, you know, I think now are able, with these two big changes in the company happening, to really move forward, right? And to drive the spatial proteomics from UltraView and this, you know, the spatial that was going on at VizGen, and just like start to really focus on, you know, building up their technology. So that was a nice conversation to have. And I plan to meet with, of course, there's a ton of omics, but there's a ton of precision medicine as well. What are you going to look at?
That's the great stuff about this conference. You know, the exhibition, you can walk around and see all of those different buckets that fall into precision medicines, whether it's on the clinical diagnostic side, whether it's tissue pathology, whether it's, you know, looking at, as you say, the omic side, the multimodal approach. I'm going to be looking at a lot of the multimodal approach, and you know, of course, you know how important the AI is. So there's a lot of AI companies there as well. You obviously have the therapeutic side. You know, there's going to be companies there, big pharma. There are obviously some smaller biotech too. So we'll be talking to them in terms of what they've got in the pipeline. Genomic, comprehensive genomic profiling. You've got the sequencing guys, of course. That's probably, you know, your sweet spot too. But of course, yes, the spatial. I walked down one of the aisles yesterday. I mean, it's almost like a spatial alley. It's great, and all these great companies doing their great work. But yeah, I'll be walking around today. I'll be looking to see what's new. Seeing some old faces, old friends. And we can report back on that, of course, tomorrow. Yeah, absolutely.
And all the social, it seems like tonight's a big social night for the companies. They're all kind of holding their social events. So we'll do that, and we'll be back tomorrow to bring another update. So thanks again. Thanks, Damian.
No worries.
And we'll see you soon.
Cheers.